Hello and welcome back to V Buzz. You're still here with myself, Sharita and Swarna. Now, in our first interview of the day, we highlighted the importance of our community to be aware of what is really going on with human trafficking situation here in Malaysia. And next up, we're going to be speaking about how important it is to engage the youth in environmental conservation efforts. Now, the planet celebrated this year's World Environment Day on the 5th of June with the theme Connect with Nature. One of the key highlights was the lack of sympathy or participation among youths in environmental efforts. As we move into the future and the Sustainable Development Goals are firming up, the United Nations and its partner organizations are actively engaged in shaping the involvement of young people in global efforts to protect our planet. Today we find out why it's so important to inspire youth to take positive action for the Earth with the Program Director of EcoKnights, Fadli Bakhtiar. Welcome back to V Buzz, Fadli.
It's always great to be here. Thank you for having me again.
No worries. Well, you know what Shar just mentioned earlier, but I think that the way that, especially with all our monoxide emissions and stuff like that, it's just not what it used to be anymore, you know, in terms of conservation efforts and stuff like that. So what sort of attitudes do young people have towards the environment at this stage and efforts to kind of protect it?
Well, if you look at it, in Malaysia, based on the statistic, the people from the age, or young people from the age of, like 0 until 40 is about 70% of the population. So it's a huge number, definitely. And different people, when they grow up, they have different kind of exposure. So some kids or different areas, some kids from certain areas have different exposures on the environment, whether through learning, or whether through their environment, their personal environment, where they're from, whether they live in like a very pristine areas or not, or in urban. So it's different. But I think it has changed, because even for me personally, when I used to, when I was young, there's definitely more green areas, right, 20, 30 years ago. And now there's definitely more development. And I feel that probably my generation, our generations before me, the appreciation is, when we talk about it, the appreciation on the environment is bigger because we see it. We used to see it. We used to play in the river, we used to play in the jungle. But now perhaps the youth or the young people have less interaction with the nature.
Of course, I agree.
But they learn. They learn a lot. There's more information, but there's not enough interaction with the nature.
There's a lot of science involved in it, but do you really think that schools are doing all that they can to kind of educate kids these days about nature, especially since we don't get as much time outside anymore?
I mean, at this age, it is an information age. There's so many information. It's always accessible, with the tip on the tip of your finger. But again, like I said, it goes back to whether you have enough interaction with the nature. So I think, again, the activities, from the schools, and even parents, the families, it all depends on what kind of exposure they have. Some in schools, I believe, especially international schools or probably more affluent schools, they have more activities outside because it requires logistics or expenditure to do it. But probably the lesser or the smaller schools may not have these kind of interactions. That's why EcoKnights, one of the programs that we've done for the past 9 years is called Anugerah Hijau or Green Awards. Is a program where we go to at least about 50 schools a year throughout the Peninsular Malaysia to educate the students about environment. So this is one of the activities that, as an NGO, we do with the support of the Ministry of Education. So at least we go and tell them that there's a lot of things out there. You have to go out. And we also have different kind of programs that they can participate. So from our capacity, we are trying to make sure that more schools or students from less or suburban or rural areas get the chance also.
We'll talk about your kind of programs in just a bit. But, the question is really here, are the Malaysian youth really concerned about the environment?
Well, again, I think for the last 10 years perhaps, or even 20 years ago, I remember Yasmin Rashid, when she, our president, our founder, when she started EcoKnights. And EcoKnights started as a program we ran with very young people from the age of 4, 5, or 6 years old. And these kids, like 10 years ago, they are 6. Now they're probably like 16. They're becoming youth, right? So some of them now have interactions with us again.
Yeah.
So that means the information or the awareness is there. And I keep saying this. Probably 15 years ago, the media wasn't very exposed to these issues to the public. But now, you know, like what we are having now, more information, interactions on environment. So in terms of knowledge, in terms of awareness, there's more. But then the issues are getting more press also.
Yeah.
You know, there's more people, you know, there's growth in populations, there's unsustainable development, increase of awareness, but at the same time, more problems also to solve.
Yeah, that's very true. But as you know, we mentioned and highlighted earlier, it's all about raising awareness and getting people talking about the issues. But you know, speaking about 15 years ago, when I was in school, there were a lot of these programs where, you know, they take you outside to explore, kind of get in touch with nature, and they kind of highlight what is going wrong in the environment and how we need to, you know, be conserving and kind of helping to kind of build the populations of different animals as well. And I think that was a great project to kind of get children aware. What do you think is what will it take to get our youth more actively involved in these environmental efforts?
Generally, for youth in general, when we're talking about millions of youth in Malaysia specifically, they can be part of a lot of movements and NGOs in Malaysia. Even EcoKnights, we are part of Malaysian environmental NGOs. There are more than 20 over NGOs under us that has tons of activities or programs, you know, from conservation, clean up, to something that is more, you know, something that is higher, such as, you know, policy, kind of like camps or even international exchange stuff. I was also part of this initiative called Young Southeast Asia Leadership Initiative. It has been in Asia, Southeast Asia for the past 70 years. It's one of the biggest networks who does like exchange between the US governments and the youth in Asia. So it's actually a very big movement in especially Southeast Asia. So this is part of the things that we need to help mobilize the environmental awareness and movement, and making sure that in the next 10 or 20 years, these youth are going to become the real adults, or the over 40 years old. So they are going to be the decision makers for the country and for the world. So it has to start now, and we are seeing more and more youth involved in this line, this regardless of their background.
That's brilliant. But you know, earlier you mentioned how there are a lot more people getting aware of issues like this, but at the same time there's a raise in number of problems, and there's kind of a gap in the call to action. You know, so what are NGOs or the government kind of doing to fill this void and try to get the youth more engaged? Because yes, awareness is a very important factor, but at the end of the day, something needs to be done about it.
So I think, based on my experience, what is needed normally required for youth is experience. So one of the things that always I think needs to improve from the youth is in terms of experience. So in terms of going and doing hands-on work and go into the real work. So for NGOs, especially like EcoKnights, we run a very active internship programs where we bring in youth to do internships in our NGO from different backgrounds, not just science or environmental background, but we've got like from linguistics, mathematics, engineering, medicine, dentistry. So these are the young people who cares about the environment. They want to be part of it, not just throughout their internship, but also when they go out. That means if I'm a dentist, I still want to think of what can I do in the next future to be more eco-friendly, like how do I use less water for my treatment. So these are all things that they come and learn. And I think this is one of the great opportunity for youth to be part of it, because they need to go and learn and have the hands-on experience rather than just theory and go straight into policy making and try to change the world, but not knowing what exactly happened on the ground.
They need to get their hands dirty a little bit as well. But you know, Fatih, you mentioned earlier that our resources and the environment is kind of depleting in the last 20 years or so. But what has been on the increase, of course, is technology and our use of it. Has there been any kind of efforts to kind of consolidate technology and youth in trying to kind of bringing the two together to kind of help conserve the environment or educate the youth with the use of technology? One
of the things that is been used effectively in terms of technology is communications itself. We used to have difficulties in terms of connectivity. Right now, connectivity is like really massive. Like I can have a live conversation with someone in Philippines and talk about certain issues and come up with a project. We can have like different kind of projects at the same time. So that is definitely one of the enabler for in technology wise. The other thing is that a lot of this, what we see the problem with the world is the carbon emission, really. The rise of temperature because of the global warming. So technology is supposed to, as I heard one of Bill Gates' lecture on TED Talks, and I agree that what we need to strive is to actually slow down the rise of the temperature by reducing the carbon emission. So the technology needs to move forward to solve carbon emission issues. And that will, will help mobilize other things, using technology. So carbon emission is...
I think that is our number one.
And it's also, a lot of children worldwide, across the globe, as young as 15, 16, 14, are coming up with all these new innovative ideas to kind of help with the pollution in the sea and the environment pollution as well. So I think that's fantastic. But how are the youth in Malaysia been given a voice and platform to share their ideas or contribute to environmental efforts here?
So on a national level, there are a lot of activities or programs that is offered by even ministries or NGOs or groups. One of the things that we do is this camp we call the Knights of Nature Sustainability Camp, where it's a very specific issues camp where the participants, for example, they participate and they learn about certain issues and they go out and they empower themselves to do some change within their capacity.
What kind of issues?
So, for example, this August, we are running the camp in Johor from the 10th until 13th of August. The theme is maritime environment and community. So the issues would be the issues of maritime in Johor and what youth can do to address the issues of coastal, the rise of sea levels and pollution, waste and all that. So it's quite specific. So that is just us. And there's a lot more organizations that are doing that. On the global level, even the United Nations are supporting it when they send delegates to the, like, say, COP21 or even, the UN General Assembly, where they have representative from each country. So a lot of the youth from around the world goes there and express their concerns about the future of the world, specifically within the environmental areas.
Right. So how can kids register for these camps?
So they can go to our website. Of course, we have our websites. They can participate. And my point is that as an NGO, we want to continuously connect with people, the grassroots, especially the youth, because this is the time where we together we find ways to solve the environmental problems. As we know, there will be more issues leading you know, in the future,
Yeah.
especially in terms of, you know, like water, land issues,
Yeah.
even waste. These
Yeah.
are some of top issues that requires young people to come in and give their ideas.
Yeah,
So
for
what
sure.
we need is this youth with a lot of ideas, a lot of energy, and the adults who has a lot of experience to work together. I think that is where it needs to cross.
Merge, yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise the adults will think that the youth are too ambitious,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they are too loud, too outspoken, you know, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, we need
Yes,
to work hand in hand.
yeah, so I
But-
think what we want is, we want to be in that, because if
sure.
you can cross that, that becomes the, you know, the focal point of
Yeah.
change. Yeah.
I understand. I think if that does happen, we will be able to find very good solutions for the
Yep.
problems that we're facing.
Yeah.
But before we let you go, how can people like us start living more sustainably?
So it's very simple. You can start with yourself. Like there's a ton of things that you can do yourself to address certain issues or to become more sustainable. But pick one. Just pick one. I carpool. You know, some of my colleagues,
Nice.
you know, they carpool. We recycle at home. These are very simple things
Yeah.
that you can do. But if I tell you you have to recycle, maybe it's something that is tough for you.
Yeah.
So choose something that is easy.
Yeah.
Choose something that is close to your heart.
Yeah.
And start from there and build up from there. Yeah.
I think it was just about learning to kind of integrate these habits into our
Yeah.
lifestyle as
Yeah.
opposed to a one-off
Yeah,
thing.
especially for example this Ramadan, then you always go to the Bazaar Ramadan and you buy food. You know, probably don't use plastic bags.
bags.
Bring your
Yeah.
own bag.
Yeah.
Something as simple as that can make a huge difference, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank
Yeah.
you so
Yeah.
much, Fadli, for joining us on the show today and
It's a
sharing
pleasure.
with
Thank
us
you so
all
much,
these
Lina.
tips.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thanks. I agree that the youth do need to are the voice for the future, and I think that the environment, if we don't have a home, you know, what is the point of all this?
Yes, of course. And, you know, start somewhere, start where you can, do what you can, just pick something you can do to contribute to this huge issue that we have
Yeah.
going on in the world right now. You know, maybe just switch off your taps when you're brushing your teeth, or in
Yeah.
the shower, just cut your showers down to like a minute, 2 minutes maybe. Maybe that's too short. All right, well, tomorrow on V Buzz, would you book a hotel for a holiday without knowing exactly what you're getting yourself into? Well, we chat with the CEO of Sustainably to find out how they're adding a little mystery to your next vacation.
And you at home already know that we here on V Buzz are big advocates of supporting our local arts, but we're also all about support for locally produced goods. We find out how the online fashion mall Deja Vu plans to globalize Malaysian brands.
And as always, guys, please keep writing to us at vbuzz@astro.com.my and do follow us on Instagram at vbuzz_HD. Now, that's all from us tonight. My name's Sharita.
And I'm Swarna. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.